I am a fan of decorative stitches, so much so that we created an entire online course. That Stitching Cosmos online course is just one of many quilts and blocks that we have done using creative stitches and accessory feet from all different brands of machines. And one of the first things we talk about is stitching out a stitch book. So we will put a link below about learning more about stitching out a stitch book. And really, that's not going to take you very long. It's stitching each of the decorative stitches in a row and maybe using some fun thread, which is what I'm going to show you next. We're going to start kind of stitching out and experimenting and how to get all the stitches stitched. They always look 10 times better than what's pictured right there on that dial. Sometimes people look at it and go, I don't know, I just use the straight and zigzag. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it could be so much better. We've just finished the video on how to get the perfect satin stitch that's using the zigzag and bringing the stitch length really close together and then playing with the stitch width for different widths. We also have already put on the clear foot, which is the better foot suited for decorative stitches because of the way the cutout underneath, there's room for the density of the stitches to flow easily out the back. Now, here's how we're going to start. I'm going to just take, and we'll jump to some of the fun stitches here, and then as we go, I'll explain which ones I'm doing at what settings and show you just how fun they can look. We've got some variegated thread on the machine now, and it's really going to pop off this fabric. If you're interested in more information about our Stitching Cosmos online course, there are links below in the description as well as free videos you can preview for free to see if that course is right for you. Before we get started, definitely need some stabilizer. This is just a tear away stabilizer. Even though I'm not going to tear it away, it is going to be a crucial part of keeping the fabric flat once it's stitched. So let's go ahead and I'm going to jump all the way over to some of the stitches. This one has the scallop stitch, and so in the black one, we need to have the stitch length really close together, somewhere between 0 and 1. Depending on your thickness of thread, you can kind of adjust that. And since we were just doing the satin stitch, I'm actually going to leave it right there. Then you also want to change the width to be as wide as possible. And let's put our needle position back to the center, since we're going to be using up the full edge of our, or full width of our presser foot. And then we'll be able to see this. So you can definitely, you'll probably need to sew a little faster, otherwise it will take forever to stitch. I am going to lengthen this out just to show you what would happen if you had it a little bit longer. Obviously it goes a little bit faster as well. Now when I do a stitch book, I will usually just take one row, stitch it from top to bottom. There we go. You can kind of see what we've got going on here. So as it was dense, I got a little bit more filled in scallop, and then here it's a little bit more spread out because the stitches aren't so close together. I'll just put this back in, and I'm going to just stay on this particular stitch area, but this time I'm going to turn it to the blue, and I'll get the blue stitch. Leave the stitch width all the way up at the 6 millimeter wide. Of course, you could change that. You'll get a whole different looking stitch. And just for fun, I am going to just go ahead and change that all the way to the red one about halfway through. And so we'll get the difference of that stitch. And you're going to notice it's going to look totally different because it is in the variegated thread. So bring your needle all the way to the top, take up lever above the machine, and then you can pull that right on out. So you can kind of see what we are having with the different stitches, and then just go right down the line. So here, let's come back. Let's go ahead and put that at 2.5. We'll see what it looks like, and then we can adjust from there. Oh yeah, this is one of those stitches that will look better a little closer together. So just by adjusting the stitch length, you can turn any of these stitches into more than one look. But can you see why I get excited about stitches? And even though this machine doesn't have a ton of decorative stitches, I have had students in my Stitching Cosmos course with very basic mechanical machines, and they're able to keep up just fine with the machines that are top of line and have all the elaborate stitches and menus upon menus of stitches. They just learned to use what they had and created what they could with the stitches. And honestly, it was kind of easier because they didn't have to pick from so many. They're just like, oh, how about that one? Or how about that one? And that's all you worked with because that's what you had on your machine. So I hope you'll take some time, stitch out your stitch book and do really it might be just a page or two, but this will give you a good reference of what is built into your machine. All right, I'm going to keep filming new video tutorials on this Singer machine. And if you're liking this machine and want to buy it, that is really helpful to know already. This machine is right for you. If you have a machine with those dials, this is going to be helpful for you to learn just about any Singer mechanical machine, so follow along. And you can find that link in the description below where you can start back at the beginning and not miss one single tip that I give for these machines.